Well, I'm still at Texarkana, so that's W900 in front of me, and I'm parked next to a oversized guy with a Cat mine truck, and this is also Ken with W900. He has a 4-axle tractor with a 3+1 XL lowboy, so 3 axles plus 1 flip. And I got my permit. Jesus, the sun is... To my right is also 2 oversized guys, but they just have some, you know, those sheds or something, right? 2 freight liners, just 3-axle trucks. It's pretty light. And so I got my permit. Oh, that's what we can do. Hey, I can put the camera. Hold on, is it recording? Yeah, it's recording. Jesus, I never did this before. So on the back of my visor, there's a little pocket, and I can just slide the camera right in there. Cool. Anyway, bad news, good news. My new truck research keeps on keeping on, and there's hardly any votes / dollars thrown in. So I would say out of 6 trucks, I'm really only looking, like me myself personally, I'm only looking at 2. And I like to thank a gentleman called, well, in my contact list on my phone, this kind and well-educated gentleman is called, you know, like how you put a name. And in my contact list, I usually add something on the instead of a last name so that I remember, because if I just put, let's say, Bobby Brown, I would never remember who this Bobby Brown is. So I put something that helps me to remember, like the my dealer, I put his first name, truck dealer, of course, not drug dealer, truck dealer. I put his first name, and instead of the last name, I put the make name that he sells, you know, the truck make. And for this guy hit, I spent like 2 hours on the phone with him yesterday. We talked a lot about the specs, and he runs a very heavy setup with a total of 12 axles. And so in my contact list, I call him Willie 12 axles. Like, without any offense, so that just I can remember. If he calls me, I know which guys this is, right? But anyway, so he runs a classic 367 Peterbilt, so I never looked at that one before. But turns out that's one of the few Peets. I think another one is, what's the other one? 567? No, 567 is the modern one. But it's 367, you can still get brand new. Sorry, I'm gonna close the window. You can still get them brand new, but what sets them apart from other trucks is that, if you remember, I was talking about this, like I like that 4900 Western Star with a classic hood but setback axle, and that's what he's running. He's running a setback axle P367, and you can get that one is good because you can still get it with cowl mounted air cleaners, and you can get it with a big radiator, which is a good thing to have when you pull heavy. And you can spec any axles on the front up to, I think, like 22,000 pounds. So now that's truck number 2, and truck number 1 is still Western Star 4900 classic hood setback axle, heavy axles, you know, transmission, whatever it takes for a wheelbase. So it just, these non-emissions trucks, I don't know, that's kind of course cheating, and then you gotta deal with many jurisdictions on this thing. You know, with a new truck, at least you can go anywhere. You can go to California, you know, because the government is like playing, you know, a lottery. Of course, they're not gonna prohibit them. Like if you buy a remanufactured truck. But and that's the thing. That's what actually I don't like is that yeah, the chassis is new. I'm talking about glider kits. The chassis is new, but the engine and the most important axles, drive axles, those are remanufactured. You know, so basically they're used. But yeah, they're remanned, so they're supposed to be the same as new, but of course they're not new, right? So you buy half of the truck pretty much is used, you know, and the price is the same as new or even higher. Like in Ontario, when I was talking to the guy, he says on average about $10,000 more than a brand new truck. So, but yeah, so what you gain is they say that they claim that you gain like 1.5 miles a gallon, but oh yeah, and then you gain, let's say, $100 a month that you don't have to spend on DEF, and maybe another few $1,000s a year that you don't have to spend on emission-related repairs. But you know, when you do heavy haul, I don't think you can gain that much fuel mileage, because with heavy stuff, our like even mine, like 7-axle operation is you like from day one I have 5.9, which is still pretty good. Most people do much worse, and the shape of the truck does not play a big role here. It's all usually it's the wind. Like I would say, factor number one in heavy haul for fuel mileage is the weight, and second is the shape of your load, and number three would be the wind, which way the wind is blowing. Like your aerodynamics pretty much has no bearing. And so I don't think the non-emissions engine would fare much better. Of course, you can have much more power, but by the way, this guy runs, this 12 axles guy, he runs 600 horsepower Cummins 2012, which was another surprise because my Chinese friend runs a 2007 Volvo with the Cummins. He's happy, but he says he knows a lot of people that bought Volvos later with the same Cummins, specifically between 2008 and 2013, and they are crying, you know, crocodile tears. So basically you gotta be lucky to buy a 2012 Cummins which still works good, you know. So I don't know. So basically, yeah, either a Pete or a Western Star, and the only difference between them, I think Western Star is cheaper to maintain. Quality, of course, is not as good as a Peterbilt, because everybody says Peterbilt is the best. No Kenworth, forget it. That T800, yeah, it's too small inside. You don't have the big opening here, and those are just two trucks that I'm looking at. And so yeah, Western Star is cheaper to maintain because it's Freightliner parts, but it also means that they'll break easier, and so the quality is not as good as with a Peterbilt, and also resale value will be much better with Peterbilt. And Western Star is heavier by about 1,000 pounds, probably, at least, the truck itself, with the same specs, because it uses a steel cab, whereas Peterbilt uses aluminum. And many parts on the Peterbilt are aluminum, whereas Western Star just thinks that steel is the best material. So I don't know. So yeah, what's happening with me is that I thought I'd be leaving today, but I only got my permit, like the renewed permit, and they couldn't find the escort, and I need the escort for 400 miles, and basically they said it's best to do it in one day. So then, because sometimes escort charge for a second day, you know, like not just by the mile, but if you have to keep them for the second day, there's a surcharge. And so I'm told that it's best to use them just for one day. So tomorrow I'll be driving, trying to get out of the escort zone, because the next state, Illinois, I do not need an escort, and Indiana, I do not need an escort, and but Michigan, Ontario, I'll need an escort. And I found the guy myself, because like a lot of people don't want to work, right? So I called a bunch of guys out of this local escort directory, but finally one guy answered the phone and said, "Hey, can I have a car for pilot car for tomorrow?" So yeah, we made arrangements. So tomorrow 0700 I should be rolling with lots of lights and flags and stuff like that. So it's going to be a sight to behold. Of course, not as big as this guy with the cat mine truck, but somehow I don't miss that one. Because I know he's probably doing like 4 miles a gallon right now. So, and I'm pretty sure that my load actually pays better, even though it's only 40,000 pounds, but it's a part of a much bigger and more expensive mine truck, and everything related to that truck just pays better. By the way, you guys, anybody curious, yeah, just look up the specs for this Cat 795. It's an amazing piece of engineering, you know, can carry 300 tons of dirt, and has humongous engine, and like just fuel tanks alone are 1,700 gallons. So that's probably at least lasts him till lunchtime from morning. So he only probably has to fuel like 2 times a day. But it's probably cheaper because if they work in the mine, they I'm pretty sure they allowed to use off-road diesel, you know, the dyed diesel, which is always cheaper. So anyway, that was a quick update. So Tuesday I'm still here, but Wednesday I'm going to be rolling. And of course the goal is I have to pass Michigan before the end of the week. I think from here it's like 1,000 miles. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I must reach the border with Canada at least on Friday. Otherwise, Michigan, with this load, there's no weekend travel, and then I'll get trapped, you know. Plus there's the end of the year coming, right, that you cannot drive on January 1st. So there's all these little barriers and restrictions you got to be aware of when you have an oversized load. So very complicated. So well, happy holidays everybody. Thanks for watching. Be safe.